Okay, Unit 7 test. It's tomorrow. So the first three problems say solve by using the square root property. So first things first, you're going to get what's squared alone. And what I've highlighted is what's squared. So the whole thing's squared. So therefore it's already alone, and we're going to square root both sides. So the square root cancels the squared. And I get x plus 9 equals positive and negative 36. This is a big thing that a lot of y'all have been forgetting, is the positive and the negative. Okay, so then before I say that's my answer, or not 36, goodness gracious, 6, sorry y'all, I've redone this like 12 million times because my computer keeps freezing. Okay, so then I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, and I have x equals negative 9 plus or minus 6. Well, the best part about this one is that our square root is a pretty number, meaning that I can actually separate and simplify. So I get x equals negative 9 plus 6, x equals negative 9 minus 6. Negative 9 plus 6 gives us negative 3. Negative 9 minus 6 gives us negative 15. Sorry about that, I had to get my calculator. Okay, so knowing that, my solution is negative 3, let's write it in order. Least to greatest. If y'all hear children, I'm sorry, I'm at home. Negative 3. Okay, number 2, so we need to get what's squared alone. So I want you to realize this whole thing, 2x minus 3, is squared. Therefore, I have this 4 out front that we have to get rid of. So I'm going to divide because that's saying multiply. Okay, so knowing that, I have 2x minus 3 squared equals, go outside, you can eat those. I get negative 8. Okay, so I know this is going to be imaginary because now that it's squared, I can take the square root of both sides. That cancels that, and I get 2x minus 3 equals, well, this is imaginary, so I'm going to put positive and negative I, so I'm going to have an I, and let's go ahead and break down 8. 2 times 4, 2 times 2, so 2 is my pair, and 2 is my leftover. So knowing that, now I need to get x by itself. So I'm going to add 3, and I get 2x equals 3 plus or minus 2i square root of 2. Divide by 2, and I'm going to separate because these 2's will cancel. I get x equals 3 over 2 plus or minus I square root of 2. So my solution, writing it up here, is 3 over 2 minus I square root 2. 3 over 2 plus I square root 2. So that's my solution here. Now last one again, what's squared is already by itself. So this whole thing is squared and it's already alone, so I don't need to worry about moving anything. And I'm going to square root both sides. So 20 squared, 2 times 10, 2 times 5. Now everything's prime, so I have a pair of 2's. So I get 5x plus 1, because the square root cancels the squared, equals 2 root 5. Positive and negative, don't forget that. See, even I forgot it. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, and I get 5x equals negative 1 plus or minus 2 root 5, and I'm going to divide everything by 5. Now nothing here simplifies, and that's fine. So I'm going to rewrite it as negative 1/5 minus 2 root 5. Over 5, comma, negative 1/5 plus 2 root 5 over 5. So that's our square root properties. So now it says solve by factoring. So again, remember, we always want to check for a GCF. So this first one doesn't have a GCF. And we're going to find our A, B, C. So A is 1, B is 2, C is negative 15. Also make sure it's equal to 0. This one's already equal to 0, so don't have to worry about it. And remember, we have A times C on top, B on bottom, AX, AX, and then we look for what multiplies and what adds. So A times C is negative 15, B is 2, A is 1, so 1x, 1x. And then we have to figure out what multiplies to give us negative 15, but adds to give us 2. Well, what multiplies to give us negative 15? So I know I'm technically kind of subtracting instead of adding. So I have 1 and 15. 2 does not go into it. I don't know why I wrote that. 3 does 5 times, and that's it. So we'll 5 minus 3 is, multiplies to give us positive, negative 15 and adds to give us positive 2. 1 over 5 doesn't simplify, 1 over 3 doesn't simplify. So I get x plus 5, x minus 3, and don't forget you have to set both factors equal to 0. I've seen a lot of y'all forgetting. So we get x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. So then we solve. So minus 5, x equals negative 5, plus 3, x equals 3. So I get negative 5, 3. Now this next one does have a GCF of 2. 6 doesn't go into 8, but they're both even numbers, so I know that 2 can come out. And when I take that out, I get 3x squared plus 4x minus 4 equals 0. So I'm going to bring the 2 down here. Now remember, when we're solving, the 2 kind of gets lost. I'm going to forget about it for now. And I have A, B, C. I don't have a lot of room. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. B is 4. A is 3, so 3x. And now we're looking for what multiplies to give us 12 and adds to give us 4, negative 12. So it's going to be positive 6 and negative 2. Now, 3 over 2 does not simplify. But 3 over 6 does. They both can be divided by 3. So this gives me x over positive 2. And remember, now I set my factors equal to 0. Well, 2 does not equal 0, so I don't need to worry about this factor. But I need to do 3x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. So minus 2, x equals negative 2. Here I'm going to add 2. A lot of y'all mess up here and you accidentally flip your fraction. So you get 3x equals 2. Divide by 3, divide by 3. So we get 2/3. So we have negative 2, 2/3. Now number 6 does not have a GCF because 5 is my smallest number, does not go into 6 or 17, and 5 is prime. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my snowflake. So 5 times 6 is 30. B is negative 17. 5x. So what multiplies to give us a positive adds to give us a negative? Well, I realize that that's going to give me a double negative. And it's going to be 2 and 15. Now 5 over 2 does not simplify, so that is one of my factors. But 5 does go into 5 and 15. So I end up with x over negative 3. And now I need to set both factors equal to 0. Also, y'all, I know I'm moving fast, but you can slow the video down. You can pause the video, so on and so forth. I'm at home and just trying to get it done because my computer was not working at work. Divide by 5, and I get 2/5. Add 3, x equals 3. So I have 2/5, 3. Now the last 3 say to use quadratic formula, and notice again, they're all nice. They all already have 0 or equal to 0. So we're just finding our A, B, C. So A is 3, B is negative 4, C is negative 7. And I'm going to build my skeleton like we talked about. Negative B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. So if you need to put your letters so you don't forget, that's totally fine. So B is negative 4, A is 3, C is negative 7. Remember, we simplify it one piece at a time. So 2 negatives makes a positive. 2 times 3 is 6. And then inside the house only. Sorry, my calculator's slow. And I get 100. Well, cool thing is, 100 is a perfect square. Gives me 10. So when I rewrite this, I get 4 plus or minus 10 over 6. Now, since that's a pretty number and they're all like terms, we're going to separate and simplify. So I can still do it in my calculator. Alpha y equals enter. 4 plus 10 over 6. And then I can do it again. 4 minus 10 over 6. So I have 7/3 and negative 1. there it is. Now on this one, I have a equals 5, b equals negative 8, c equals 4. So negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So negative 8, 5, 5, 4. So it gives me positive 8 plus or minus the square root of something over 5 times 2 is 10. So we get negative 8 squared minus 4 times 5 times 4. Those are positive, yes. And I get negative 16. So this can be imaginary, but it's a pretty imaginary number because the square root of 16 is 4. So I get a plus or minus 4i. And I'm going to separate the denominator because they simplify. These are both even numbers. Therefore, you can cut them both in half. 2 goes into both of those. So I end up with 4 over 5. And then 2 goes into both of those. And I end up with 2i over 5. So my final answer is 4/5 minus 2i over 5, comma, 4/5 plus 2i over 5. Okay, last one on the front. So again, a equals 2, b equals negative 4, c equals 3, negative b, ooh, what am I doing? Negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c, running out of space, all over 2a. So a is 2, b is negative 4, c is 3. 2 negative makes a positive. 2 times 2 is 4. And remember, just type what's under the house. So negative 4 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3. And I get negative 8. So we just have to simplify. That's going to be an I. These are going to simplify also, so I'm going to go ahead and separate. And I need to figure out what 8 simplifies to. So 2 times 4 and 2 and 2. We actually did this at the top. So we get 2i square root of 2, because 2 is left over. 4 over 4 gives me 1. 2 over 4 gives me 1/2. And there's my answer. 1 minus I square root of 2 over 2. 1 plus I square root of 2 over 2. Sorry, my handwriting is beautiful. My squeeze chair. Okay, let's flip to the back. So now it says solve using your choice of method. So really you could do these multiple ways. I would choose here square root method because there's no b term. If I move that over, there's no b term. So I can get x squared alone by dividing both sides by 10. I get x squared equals negative 20. And now I can square root both sides. Square root cancels the square, and I get x equals positive or negative. It is going to be an I. And let's break down 20. 2 and 10, 2 and 5. So 2i square root of 5. Therefore, I get negative 2i root 5 and positive 2i root 5. So that's that one. Okay, sorry, y'all. Okay, so this next one, honestly, you could try to factor it. But I honestly would just use the formula. So we get 2, 1, negative 3, negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So we get negative 1 plus or minus the square root of something over 4. And I get 25. So this one was factorable. Square root of 25 is 5, so I get negative 1 plus or minus 5 over 4, and I can type in my calculator. So I get negative 3 halves and 1. So, I mean, you can try to factor any of these. This would be, well, multiplies to give you 10 and adds to give you 9, so no. So we get A equals 1, B equals 9, C equals 10. I'm going to do the formula again. If my loud children come inside, I'm so sorry. I hear them in the garage. Okay, so I have A is 1, B is 9, C is 10. So I get negative 9 plus or minus the square root of something over 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. 9 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10 gives me 41. And 41 is prime. Yeah, 41 prime. So this is as simple as it gets. 9 doesn't simplify with 2. So it's literally negative 9 minus square root of 41 over 2. Negative 9 plus square root of 41 over 2. That's a 4 and a 1. And that's a fancy bracket. I know, it's beautiful. Okay, so we can see if this one's factorable. So negative 14. Yes, this is. So we'll do snowflake. But again, if you'd rather just do quadratic formula, do quadratic formula. It always works. So A times C is negative 14. B is 5. AX. AX. So what multiplies to give me negative 14 and adds to give me 5 is going to be positive. No, it's going to be negative 2 positive 7. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. 7 plus negative 2. So I get x minus 2 equals 0. Remember, you're going to set both factors equal to 0. Add 2, x equals 2, minus 7, x equals negative 7. So there we go on that one. Super fast, I know. Now this one again, I'm going to use square root method. I do like that method. I think it's easier. How do you get rid of 1/3? I want you to realize you're going to multiply by the opposite, which is 3 over 1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And I get 3x minus 7 squared equals 15 times 3 is 45. And I'm going to square root both sides. Square root, I get 3x minus 7 equals positive and negative. So 45 does break down, but it's not a perfect square. 5 goes into it 9 times, and 9 is a perfect square of 3 and 3. So I'm going to add 7, 3x equals 7 plus or minus 3 root 5, divide by 3, and I'm going to separate for sure because these 3's are going to cancel. So I get 7 over 3 minus root 5, 7 over 3 plus root 5. Okay, I don't know if this is factorable, so I'm going to go ahead and use the formula. Five, 5, 3, 3, 9. So I get negative 3 plus or minus the square root. Don't mind my dog grunting in the background. Negative 171 over 10. Well, 171 divided by 3. 7 divided by 3. Okay, so 171. 3 goes into it. I got lucky. 57 times. 3 goes into 57 19 times. So we do have a pair. 19 is prime. So we end up getting nothing. Sorry, I'm listening to children scream out the window. If y'all can hear that, I'm so sorry. 3 over 10 does not simplify, so we're just going to leave it. Negative 3 minus 3. Don't forget your I. Square root of 19 over 10. And then negative 3 plus 3i square root of 19 over 10. Okay, cool. Last two problems. Kathy jumped off a cliff into the ocean in Acapulco while vacationing with her family. Her height as a function of time could be modeled by this, where t is the time in seconds and h is the height in feet. How many seconds did it take Kathy to reach the water? Well, reaching the water would be a height of 0, because that's how high she is, height from the water. So we would have 0 equals negative 16. Okay, sorry, I'm listening to children outside. And I get negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So I get this. So I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to bring it up here. So I get negative 16 plus or minus the square root of something over negative 32. So I have 16 squared minus 4 times, negative 16 times 480. Ooh, big old number. 30976. I don't know if this is factorable, but I'm just going to type it like this. Remember, the cool thing about the word problems is we don't have to simplify it the ugly way. You can type it in a calculator and get decimals. So I get negative 5. And then remember, you can hit second, enter, and replace the minus with plus, and I get 6. Now, it says how many seconds did it take Kathy to reach the water? Well, does negative 5 seconds make sense? No. So the answer is 6 seconds. Okay, then it says, when was Kathy 300 feet away from the water? Round to the nearest tenth of a second. So now we're saying height, h of t, is 300. So knowing that, I'm going to subtract 300 because we have to have it equal to 0 before we plug it in. We get 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 480 minus 300 is 180. I don't know why I felt like I needed to type that in my calculator. So I know A, B, C. The only thing that changed is C to 180. So A is negative 16, C is 180, B is 16. So I get negative 16 plus or minus negative 32 still on the bottom. The only thing that's going to change is inside my house. So 16 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 180 gives me this big old number, 11776. So then I put alpha y equals enter, negative 16 plus so this one's not pretty. So negative does not make sense to me. There's no such thing as a negative time. So my answer, remember now, to the nearest tenth is one number. So negative 2.9 and 3.9. So 3.9 is our answer. Okay, last problem. If a toy rocket is launched vertically upward from the ground level with an initial velocity of 128 feet per second, then the height, yada, 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 we have the formula. If air resistance is neglected, okay, that's science stuff, not me. When was a rocket 200 feet high? So height is 200. Cool thing about this one is there's no c, so when we subtract 200 from both sides, we get this. So A is negative 16, B is 128, C is negative 200. So I get negative 128 plus or minus the square root of something over negative 32. And it's like 16. Inside the house, I get 128 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 200. And I get 3584. So alpha y equals enter. Negative 128 plus square root 3584 over negative 32. And then over second enter, I can change that plus to a minus. So they both make sense here. So I get 2, what did it say to round to? It doesn't say, so we'll just say 10th place again. We get 2.1 and 5.9. Is it seconds? Yep, seconds. All right, study for your test. Let me know if you have questions.